Alrighty, so I'll just have everyone begin to either close your eyes or soften your gaze. I'll just have you take a couple deep breaths in, beginning to just breathe into your body, breathe into this present moment, taking a couple deep breaths in and just allowing your energy to arrive in present time as best as possible. And then imagining that you're being surrounded in, we're going to do 11 rings of salt today. And so for those parts of you that are maybe like past selves or parallel selves or any future self, can just receive a really grounding ring of salt. And this salt just creates neutrality, blessing, spanning backwards and forwards through time. And then imagining that there's a ring of salt around the perimeter of your space, just creating that extra physical boundary. And then we're going to place a ring of salt around this entire group this evening. And even those who are listening to this in the future can kind of step in to this ring of salt that we have as a group. For the group container, I am going to place fire at the center. This is a special fire. It is rainbow. So every color of the rainbow is going to be present. And this fire is just not only going to bring grounding and transformation for our group tonight, but it also raises energy for celebration, fun, passion, upliftment, self-love. So we're just really bringing in this beautiful rainbow of colors at the very center of the circle tonight. And then bringing your focus back to the space that you're in, I'm going to have you imagine that you are encompassed in this beautiful like rose quartz grid. So we're just bringing in rose quartz, just this beautiful energy of self-trust and self-love. And there's this beautiful grid that just forms around you. Maybe it's a circle, maybe it's a star, but it's whatever you're needing for this evening and this new moon. And then from an untouched place in the earth, Mother Earth is just going to send up a really beautiful moss green grounding cord, and that cord connects into the base of your spine. It might even be as wide as your energy field. This cord is set on release, so just inviting you to release, give permission to any energy that you're holding that's not yours, any emotions that are ready to release, any psychic debris, any psychic dust. Just allowing that energy to be shed, let go of, down this grounding cord back to the center of the earth where it's going to be recycled. And imagine this green, this moss green. It might even have a texture to it, kind of like how moss is like a really nice, like almost like a velvety texture. This grounding begins to be brought up all the way to your heart. We're going to be working with the heart space tonight. So we want to just make sure we resource the heart. And that green color, that moss, just brings in lots of resource, grounding, validation, security. You might even feel that moss, that texture like on the back of your heart, but just resourcing the nervous system. And that green just kind of bathes your heart space. And then from an untouched place in the cosmos are going to send down this really nice golden honey. And this cosmic honey just pours over the top of your head. It pours through your psychic senses, your channel, imagining your channel, that space to source and your, those higher consciousness realms just being bathed in this honey, this golden honey. It pours over your psychic senses, just bringing soothing to your psychic senses, clearing and lifting any psychic debris. And it pours down the back of your neck, and imagine this honey pouring all the way down your spine. And it just kind of touches and clears all of your energy centers, your back body, all the way down to your feet, where it washes underneath your feet and then up the front of your energy field, all the way up. And then it just kind of fountains out the top. So it kind of creates a circular motion, just kind of creating some circulation and movement. And imagining right above the top of your head is a sun, and just calling in your energy, your true and powerful self, your magic, your true essence, your gifts. Imagining the sun collects all of your magic, all of your energy, and then it begins to spin, and then it travels into the top of your head, beginning to just kind of filter into your consciousness. And this energy can just travel to any space within you where you're needing it most. So it might be your heart, it might be, your solar plexus, it might be your hands or the back of your neck, but just allowing this energy to just kind of travel organically to those spaces. So then I'll have you imagine at the center where you are in this really nice rose quartz grid, there's like a little cauldron, a little crystal cauldron, and it has fire at the center. And there's this like really cool like fuchsia fire. And this is going to be your own unique kind of like station for the process that we're going to be doing tonight. And maybe there's even an altar, and it can be designed in a way that's unique to you. So I'll just give you a moment to kind of envision your altar. And then calling your intentions in, calling those intentions in, anything that you're wanting to raise energy for this next lunar cycle, the new moon, the harvest. Visualizing those intentions on your altar. It might be words or actual images, seeds. And as you do so, you can just kind of also ground into the space and connect to your grounding cord or the rings of salt. And I'm just going to set a container for this evening for our group. I call to spirits of grace and spirits of creation to hold a sacred container for this session tonight. Call into the space and time a blessing of the elements. I call air to openings and inspiration to new beginnings, the planting of seeds. I call to you and I welcome you. I call to the south to fire, transformation and creativity, right action, the courage of the heart of Leo. I'm just calling to you and I welcome you here. I call to the west to water and dreaming, healing, coming home, tending and soothing of the nervous system, is calling to you, and I welcome you. I call to the north, to the earth and the bones, to boundaries, relationship tending, security, calling to the north. I call into this space and time the power and the potency of the new moon in Leo, calling to new beginnings, to resetting, to a fresh start, to the fires of Leo as well, the lion, the archetype of the lion, the heart, the fifth house, which is the house of creativity, self-love. It's also the house of romance. That can be interpreted any way that feels good. So just really calling to that creative energy, calling to the spirit of creativity and passion, and yeah, just like that right relationship of transformation. I compassionately disinvite all energy, thought, idea, belief, and spirit that would not best serve this time together. And I just ask that you be guided by your helping spirits and find your light elsewhere for the time being. And I also want to just place protections over our devices. So we can just imagine that our devices are wrapped in gold spheres, just giving gratitude to the spirits of technology, the spirits of the internet, just asking for a clear connection, clearing of any interference. And I want to give gratitude to the spirits of this land and place, and acknowledging that I am facilitating this work on unceded Chinook land. I'm just asking that any prayers and blessings that can be raised and sent to the continuing fight for liberation be done so with ease and grace. And I just ask that everyone here and everyone that will be listening to this in the future receive what they need to receive. I ask for blessings upon everyone here and everyone in the future that's listening to this, and a blessing for all of our relations. Just asking that this work ripple out to community, to collective, and may it create positive change in this time-space reality at this time. And I ask to be a clear channel for this work, and just asking to be a conduit for the healing and the messages that need to come through. And I just say this wheel and container is now set, and so it is. You can either open your eyes or you can just like relax, and I'm going to share the reading. You can receive the reading, laying down. I pulled cards before we came on, and it's always just so interesting because I've been tracking like all these different themes like in the group over the last, maybe like 2 or 3 months, and it's just exciting. And yeah, just like really exciting to like see evolution happening within the readings that I've been doing for the group here. I'm excited about this like new moon in Leo. I'm curious like how other people are experiencing it. But Leo is represented by the lion. I feel like it is a really beautiful kind of like very extravagant energy. It's so centered in self-love and like deep self-devotion, and that's something I really want to work with this evening. It's kind of funny, and I'll just admit, like I was trying to plan this and like the spirits like wouldn't let me plan. So I have a sense of what we're going to be doing this evening. We're definitely going to be working with like self-love and like self-celebration, self-devotion, and a lot of like solar energies were coming in, but we're also going to really flow with this. And I think it's going to be very much tailored to the group tonight. So I want to share the cards. I drew theme cards for us. I drew cards for our process moving towards the full moon, because it definitely feels like there's this really powerful and potent energy within this next lunar cycle as we build towards the next full moon, because we're also moving into harvest season. We're moving into the first harvest, and this is just such a big time of like not only releasing and like kind of separating and like clearing, but it's also about receiving and bringing our projects and our dreams to fruition. I drew some archetypal cards that are more like, what are we working with on a very subconscious level? Like, what are we reclaiming at this time? And then I drew a card from my flower divination deck. And then we're going to be working with a flower essence tonight. So the themes that we have are choice from the living altar and the Six of Pentacles. Definitely see the Six of Pentacles as a time of something coming back into balance. There being reciprocity, there being a space of true service that's restored. So I'm definitely seeing like a rebalancing of some sort, and that could be applied in so many different ways. This could be applied to, your finances, your business, relationships, even your relationship with yourself, that there's something coming into balance, and there's an energy that was feeling possibly stuck or disharmonious, and it coming into a space of flow or coming in back into harmony. I definitely see there being like this giving and receiving type energy. Like I just see like maybe two people or like a group all putting an effort, or there being like a balance of emotional labor. It definitely feels like there's something that is being restored, and that there's repair, there's something just like kind of regenerating. And I've been feeling that about this new moon. I'm like, oh, there's like this regeneration energy, there's a recalibration where there was a sense of loss before, or maybe there was a sense of like feeling like there was lack, or someone wasn't stepping up, or there was just a straight up imbalance. So I definitely see there being this recalibration, and the card of choice, I definitely see it as the sense of free will and agency to step into the new, because it's almost like they're showing me that everything has already been put in place. Everything, all the ducks have already been lined up. There's like all the structures have been put in place. And now it's time to embody that new role, or like now it's time to embody your true and powerful self. And it's like everything's there for you. It's just like taking that step in and remembering you do have choice. There's options. There's, you have agency, you have autonomy, and there's this part of you that might be really calling you forward to step in. It feels like even like the shell is there, like something's been shed, and there's like, it's like, oh, you just actually have to step in and like put your wings on, or like, actually just like take up more space, or step into that kind of that like new you. And it's not like, you've changed, it's just like you're becoming more of who you are. So I'm definitely seeing this like true and powerful self, like this, just like this recognition of your true power, recognition of your true beauty, recognition of your gifts. And with this, I'm also sensing maybe for folks that there is a new level of understanding of your psychic abilities, your spiritual gifts, your sense of like intuition. So I'm really seeing that being harnessed, especially moving into this next full moon, over the next couple weeks, really embodying it. It's like they're almost saying, try it out for size, just try it out, see how it feels. There's not a wrong way to do this, you're not going to fail, and there isn't like, like there's not a right or wrong way. It's just kind of like trial and error. So I'm definitely hearing the spirits encouraging you to, try things out, experiment over the next couple weeks, take these leaps of faith. This new moon's really supporting you in this. With that, I drew the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is the practicality. This is about devotion to your craft. This is dedication to a practice. This is the earthly matters. And, maybe that's what's needed to build that confidence. It's almost like, all right, I have to just get my structures in place. Like, it's like getting all the behind the scenes work done so that you can feel energetically set to go. It almost feels like there's maybe someone like launching a business or, launching something. And I'm just seeing everything behind the scenes, like, the spreadsheets and like the Google Drives and like all of that, just really being solid so that you can, put yourself forward and feel confident in that choice. The Eight of Pentacles is definitely like this deep commitment to yourself and your practices, your craft, and your gifts, whatever those might be that are coming forward. So I'm definitely seeing this daily commitment, daily self-practice, and that really bringing things forward, because the next card I drew is the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands is like full speed ahead. It's very fortuitous change. It's like when everything kind of dominoes, like you get the email or someone asks you to collaborate or someone reaches out to you, there's communication, and it just creates this like domino effect of change. So, I definitely am hearing like whatever folks are building at this time to put into the world, whatever you're working towards, you know, you're gonna make the choice when it's time. And then I'm also seeing this like push and this nudge from your spirits and from, the universe, or, you know, the mystery. Like it almost feels like there's a bit of like a push that is going to happen, to encourage you. And it almost is like when there's divine intervention, it's like, oh no, we're doing this, it's just like, let's go. So I definitely am seeing like the utilization of the fire of the new moon and really harnessing that towards what you're excited about and what you're passionate about, and that really creating momentum for you. It leads right into the Ace of Cups. I'm seeing the Ace of Cups as more towards like the full moon, which is deep receiving. It's abundance, and abundance in all forms. It's also healing as well. So if your process, I want to speak to this because it feels like maybe there's folks that are doing more external building, like building a business or a project. And then I'm also seeing a lot of internal work that's being done. So if your process is more internal right now, it's perfect, like you're right where you need to be, and that is so needed sometimes. I'm really seeing this like your hard work paying off, or maybe you've been in therapy, or maybe you've been doing, work around like your magical practice or your psychic abilities, or, healing from the past. I'm really seeing like the full moon being a culmination, and there being kind of this tipping point, and really witnessing how much you've grown and how far you've come. So this Ace of Cups is that blessing coming in. It's grace, it's hope, it's faith, and it's really coming in to show you how far you've come, essentially. Yeah, so the archetypes I pulled, I drew from the bottom of the decks, and I drew the Lovers card and then Ritual from the Living Altar. As we know, the Lovers card that like shows up in like every reading that I do for the group. And I always remember that the Lovers card represents choices. It's choice points. And first and foremost, it's, I think I've talked about this a lot, but just like that, the lens of the Lovers can be applied to your self commitment and your self devotion. and then how that's an externalized, like how it's mirrored with other people in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partner, while it can represent and be mirrored through romantic partners, right? It's such an internal process. So once again, we have this, you know, theme of choice, agency, autonomy, honoring yourself and honoring your heart, ritualizing that. So I definitely want to work with the theme of ritual and honoring that self devotion and the choice that you're making to devote to your passions, your magic, your altar, your practice, your craft. You know, it can be so many things. It can be a devotion to the spirit of your creative work, you know, your art. And it doesn't have to be limited, too. You can be multifaceted and contain multitudes. So, you know, just naming that, like, you can commit to so many different things and it doesn't have to be limited, as long as it, you know, feels true to who you are and true to your magic and in integrity with who you are. I'm just definitely seeing this like ritualization of that process. And then the last cards I drew, I pulled last messages. This is very exciting. It's like I'm even just getting hot as I'm doing these cards because there's so much fire in this reading. I drew the Queen of Wands, and then the flower essence I drew is Jasmine, which the energy signature of Jasmine is fire. So we have a lot of fire in this. I'm not surprised. I mean, it's a Leo new moon, but definitely feels like this is very transformative, and this is like the what I've been hearing is like your capacity to honor and tend your own fire is deepening. So it's like kind of like that tending of the fire is allowing there to be this resiliency, this strength that's built, a tending of the courage, which will also support you in clearing fear that weighs on your heart. And I'm just definitely seeing this like, it's almost like tenacity. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this, you know, and not in a way that you're pushing or forcing or burning out, but it's more so an organic fire. It's an organic tending. Fire really works us. It's intense. It's like I always see the image of like metal being put into the fire over and over and over again until it's, you know, molded or, you know, perfected. And so the element of fire, and we're really right in the heart of summer. So we're also in the fire months, and it can feel really intense because it just like works us, right? Like it's kind of like, all right, here we go again, you know, but we're being refined and defined in new ways. And maybe even like your, you know, your gifts are being defined in new ways, and your commitment to your gifts and your devotion to self is being defined and refined. So we're gonna work with all of these this evening. Yeah, I'm excited. I feel like I really want to be working with this theme of self devotion, of honoring our fire, and a lot of heart tending. It's like tending of the heart, but it's this new, it's like almost like the spirits were saying, there's a new evolution of the heart where it's centered in heart like sovereignty and that choice of the heart. Like your heart has a choice. You have a choice. If we think of the heart as a intelligent organ that, you know, there's like almost like a consciousness in your heart, that there can be choice, there can be agency in that. So we're going to work with those themes, working with this building of, you know, self-commitment and self-celebration and self-love. Yeah, and then I think I want to go into the journey just so we have the time. So you can make yourself comfy. I'm going to be also be working with jasmine this evening. You can lay down, you can be sitting. And I'll invite you to begin to either close your eyes or soften your gaze. And you can begin to take a few deep breaths in, settling in to the space that you're in. You can begin to tell your body that it's time to relax. You can begin to tell your mind that it's time to relax. Maybe even feeling your muscles beginning to soften. And the logical mind to just kind of gently take a back seat. Imagining that once again you are in that beautiful rose quartz crystal grid. And as you bring your perception outward, I'll have you begin to notice that you are inside of a sacred garden. This is your own sacred garden, a space of healing and tending of your magic and your gifts. And beginning to notice that cauldron once again right at the center with that pink fire. And noticing your intentions that you're building and raising energy for. And beginning to call once again upon your true and powerful self. That part of you that's living and existing beyond this time-space reality. And that part of you arrives, and that part of you have a choice here. So you can either have that part of you merge with you, or you can sit side by side, whatever feels most comfortable. And that part of you might be represented as like a color or like a beam of light, or maybe that part of you is very embodied or like kind of animated. We're just welcoming that part of you here to be at this ritual with you. And as you sit in front of this fire is here to raise energy for self-love and your passions, your creativity, and your transformation. And as you and your true and powerful self sit at this altar, we're going to begin to invite in the flower of jasmine. And if you've ever smelled jasmine, maybe recalling a time that you've just had that aroma kind of waft by you, or maybe you have jasmine in your yard. And imagining the flower of jasmine just arrives and begins to gently weave around the grid that you're in. So I'll share a little bit about jasmine as well. So jasmine has the power to make the unconscious conscious. And Jasmine moves stagnant and outdated patterns into awareness, allowing us to release emotional and energetic hooks with intentionality. Jasmine also provides spiritual clarity, and it allows us to kind of pull up or bring forward narratives that we need to release in order to empower ourselves. The energy signature is fire. So with the support of Jasmine this evening, we're first going to clear one block to receiving your own self-love and self-devotion. So just allowing this process to flow, this process to be intuitive, and you can ask for support from your true and powerful self. We're going to work with fire in multiple forms, and we're also going to work with Jasmine. So you might even imagine Jasmine being offered to you. You might imagine, picking up the flowers and placing those flowers on your heart. You can just even kind of call to the essence of Jasmine to wash over you and bathe you. And then we're also going to call to the fire of the earth. So I'll have you recall that grounding cord that we brought in the beginning, that really beautiful moss. And imagine through this grounding cord, there's now this just very gentle fire of the earth that begins to arise and begins to support you by moving in through the base of your spine, maybe your hips, and it's brought all the way up to your heart space, where it just begins to soften any stagnant energy, any kind of narratives that your heart is holding, also any emotional hooks or anyone else's energy that you're holding and holding space for that's not helpful or sovereign to your process. So we're not letting go or releasing anything yet. We're just softening those hooks. We're just softening stagnant energy. Just allowing that really grounded earth fire to just kind of rise. It might be coming from the center of the earth. But just allowing it to rise through your grounding cord and just kind of wash over your heart space. Then we're also going to call down the sun. So I'll have you imagine that the sun is overhead and this beautiful golden sun is just kind of brought down. And this golden sun just kind of hovers right above your altar. The sun also being represented by Leo and fire and the heart. The sun is here to support us and support you. And with the support of Jasmine and your true and powerful self, I'll invite you to just begin to slowly and gently open your heart, that space, that energetic space within your heart, and inviting any stagnant energy, stagnant emotion. It can be, you can ask for that one thing that's really blocking you from receiving your own gifts and your own self-love to begin to come forward now. And now have you imagine that at the heart of the sun, in the center of the sun, is a magnet. And that magnet just begins to really gently invite and pull whatever you're releasing at this time to just move towards the sun. Just wanting to name, you might see like energies from other people moving out of your heart space, cords, hooks, just allowing whatever, you can just ask for anything that's needed to release to be released into the heart of the sun, to be regenerated, cleared, and transformed. Just allowing any burden and stress on the heart to just lift. And this to be done also for the back of your heart. So allowing that heart space to just really open. And I'll have you imagine that the sunlight, that brilliance from the sun, just kind of filling your heart space and just like moving through, almost washing like waves, still feeling the support from the fire of the earth, as well as the flower of jasmine, really just supporting this process, just being gentle with it. And as that process just continues to release and be tended to in the most good, true, and beautiful way, you can begin to slowly release that fire of the earth. Maybe you don't want to fully release it, but it just kind of dwindles, it kind of softens. And maybe the sun just like lifts ever so slightly. And just noticing what you notice about how much more space you might have in your heart. Just like kind of taking inventory for a moment, because we're going to begin to move into kind of raising energy for what you're passionate about, that self-devotion, devotion to your magic. And just knowing like that process of clearing can kind of continue to just like, be in process in the background. But turning towards your altar and with the like kind of the collaborative energy with your true and powerful self, I'll invite you to begin to acknowledge and name your desires about what you want to raise energy for. Whether that be self-devotion, commitment to your craft, dedication to your magic. I'll have you imagine that from that cauldron with that fuchsia fire, there's this single rose that begins to emerge. And it just begins to kind of float right above your altar, right above the fire. And this rose might be a specific color that really represents what you're wanting to raise energy for. And imagining that from the fire, the cauldron, there are these like ribbons that begin to rise. And those ribbons just begin to wrap around this single rose. Just beginning to weave that spell of self-devotion or whatever you're raising energy for. And as that weaves, maybe it's braided, I'm going to begin to read the spell of ritual before we go into the energy work and the sound. And you can choose how you want this spell to also be invoked for your altar. So the spell of ritual says, the long and arcing chambers of my heart's temple sing with the anticipation of my intentions laid bare upon the altar. Disarmed, I gather my magic and the resources of my lived experience and set my will like a hawk upon its willing sacrifice. My life is not personal, but it is my own, my only and my beloved. I will make of it what I will, and what I will make I will call righteous. What do I want to allow to be expressed through myself as the conduit from the divine as collaboration? With divine ordinance I act, and by whose will, if not my own? So just allowing that to settle however it will. And I'm going to move into doing a little bit of energy work and sound, and I'll just invite you to be with this process. This can be a time that you also have conversation with your true and powerful self, with your altar, and I'll call you out very shortly. So, with your eyes still closed, you can find yourself back in the garden, at your altar, and just taking a deep breath here, just kind of wrapping up any last conversations with your altar, with your true and powerful self. And we're just going to release the sun back into the sky and just releasing that fire of the earth back down through your grounding cord. And imagining that as there's maybe been clarity or new space that has been created in your heart, I'll have you envision that chalice of the Ace of Cups in the center of your heart. And you can design this how you want. It can be extravagant, it can be opulent. I have you imagine that on your altar is now a bowl of water. Imagine picking up this blessed bowl of water, maybe it has jasmine in it, and beginning to pour that water directly into this chalice in your heart. And just naming once again what you're devoting to, what you're raising energy for this next lunar cycle. And allowing that water to overflow in abundance, and it flows out the back of your heart, the front of your heart, and even the sides of this chalice, which actually connect to the palm of your hands. So it flows all the way down, really opening those energy centers in your hands. And just feeling that full flow, that full abundance, that replenishment in your heart space. And I'll also invite you to notice on your altar, there may be that rose with that devotional spell woven. And there might be some really fun and extravagant, like self-adornment. So this is going to be unique to each person, but maybe there's like a blessed oil, or maybe there are like a headpiece or jewelry, or even like something that you can put on you. So I'll give you a moment to just kind of adorn yourself. Maybe there's like crystals that you want to like place in your heart. You're just imagining like adorning yourself how you want to really represent this next version of yourself, this new choice, this new embodiment. And maybe there's even like a mirror on your altar, and just witnessing your own reflection, seeing yourself in your new form as the butterfly witnesses itself as it's emerged. Beginning to say your name in your heart. Beginning to call yourself back into present time as best as possible. You can begin to bring breath back in. Beginning to just call yourself gently home. Coming back, feeling the space around you. Noticing the room around you. You can notice the air or any sounds that you hear near or far. And just taking your time, coming back at your own pace. and just coming back whenever you're ready, or you can just chill. Um, I wanted to just share some thoughts for integration. So the spirits really want to invite you and all of us to charge your jewelry tonight. Um, Anything that you wear, any self adornment, they're really encouraging you to charge that, that piece of clothing or jewelry or even like a hat. um, Charge it with what you're wanting to embody. Like whatever you received at your altar around this like next step, like what you're raising energy for, what you're devoting to, charge like an actual physical item with that energy. And that can be done in a couple different ways. You can speak over it, you can like infuse it with like your energy. You can like write your own spell or your own prayer and place that item on the spell. You could even, if you work with like tarot, you could place the items on a tarot card. You could work with like the Queen of Wands and put those items like on that card. I feel like it can be like really creative. But yeah, they kept showing me like charging an actual physical item and then wearing it. Maybe you want to do something that you wear every day, like a ring or something, and then wearing it every day if you can until the next full moon. So until the full moon in Aquarius, and I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but it's in 2 weeks. So I think like, yeah, charging like a physical item would be really cool. And then another thing they showed me that might be really helpful and cool is really working with this uh, Ace of Cups energy as we move into the harvest. And I was seeing that like as having like a chalice on your altar, like next to your bedside, and like tending to the water in that chalice, like, replacing the water, refreshing the water. You could put like essences in the water, but having that be like a chalice of self love or self devotion was what I was being shown. And I think that's it. So yeah, I think like this is a new moon to just like really raise energy for celebration and fun. Like there definitely was like a lot of heart clearing, but I think it just feels like everyone here is like really devoted to your work. So it's like we kind of go in and it's like, all right, we're actually clearing. So take care of your heart tonight. And you know, if there was like a bigger release, just be gentle with yourself, do something really sweet for yourself, and do something that brings you joy. I think would be really helpful this evening. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just close container and lift the work. So I'll have you just close your eyes one last time, and I give so much gratitude to all the beautiful elements and all the versions of fire, to the new moon in Leo. I thank you, I release you, and I send you home. And I re-invite back those that were disinvited at this time. May you find your rightful place in the order of things. May it serve you and serve you well. I ask that this work integrate for everyone here and everyone that will be listening to this in the future in a way that is sovereign, full of heart healing, full of opening of the heart and receiving of your own magic, self-devotion, and self-celebration. I lift this work, I lift these ways, begin to lift the circle, the group circle, and I close all portals that were open at this time. I cut and dissolve all cords that were created. And I just say this work is complete, these prayers are lifted, and this wheel is open, and so it is. All right, I'm just going to stop the recording.